Good morning, everybody. Tremendous siyata d'shmaya. At the beginning, I thought that this is a sign of something not so good. I completely didn't set my alarm clock. So I thought, oy vey, there goes that siyata d'shmaya, that, how often is it that I could go for more than a month without forgetting to set my alarm clock? I mean, I forget, where I live sometimes, not to set. And here all of a sudden, I forgot to set my alarm clock. So I'm like, oh, this is a really bad sign. And then I realized real quickly that no, it's a tremendous siyata d'shmaya. Without setting my alarm clock, I was able to get up. Yeah, I didn't have the time to prepare before Shiur. But whatever, it happens. Things happen. That's what happens with the daf. So therefore, Noam, get your Gemara ready. Don't watch the chat. Menachem Mata, get ready. And we're gonna do this together. Now I did see the sugya last night before I went to sleep. I saw it real quickly. I got it. It's easy stuff. Hopefully, Beis Hashem, everything will be great. Today's shiur is being sponsored Eli Nishmas. First of all, by our great friend Isi ben Zaken from Rechavia. Eli Nishmas, Yosef ben Betzalel, his grandfather. Eli Nishmas, Sultana Bat Chanina, Refuah Shleima, for Betzal ben Chaya, Toiva, I think. Okay, let's see what he says. He has a little bit of an email that goes to get it. I'm reading it because there's a nice message here. The shiur should be Lili Nishmas, my maternal grandfather, Yosef ben Betzal, whose yahrzeit is today, Yudel. Also, Lili Nishmas, my paternal grandmother, Sultana Bat Chanina, whose nachla was about a week and a half ago on Chof Tesav. And for Refuah Shleima, for my uncle, Betzal ben Chaya Toiva, who has been hospitalized unresponsive for over a year. If you ask why I use the different terms yahrzeit and nachla, I'll explain. My maternal grandfather was a chassid from Europe, and my paternal grandmother was a Sephardi from Spanish Morocco. Those two worlds came together when my parents got married, and because of the amazing self-sacrifice of both grandparents and the spouses to make sure that children had a good Jewish education, they were zoicha to have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who were oisi b'torah mitzvahs. This also continues on the theme of achdus that you always talk about. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what type of yarmulke you wear or don't wear. We're all brothers and sisters, and we need to know that an act that way and through that, amazing things can and will happen. Thanks again to Rav Eli and all the amazing staff for all you do. Isi ben Zaken, no relation apparently to Shlomo ben Zaken, who joined us just a few weeks ago. One more quick email. We were supposed to start earlier today, no? Beis Hashem tomorrow, when the alarm is set and everything is good. Shalom Aleichem Rav Eli. This is from Israel Shalit. I watched most of the Sima Masechet Shabbos live. All I can say is amazingly wow. I've also sent a few people invites to join your shiur as well. Thank you. I've been learning Daf Yomi way before it was in style. I attended Daf shiur for many years, Baruch Hashem. I recently started watching you on Zoom shiur after my shiur in Borough Park. Another Borough Parker. Last night we had a Borough Parker, Yisrael Goldstein, Eli Dykman, and who else was it? He brought all, the whole shul is basically part of it. You got the Shlomo guy, the guy that threatened to punch me in the face if I talk during shiur. So no more talking, Rabbi. It's all serious from today on. Which finishes around 11 p.m. I'm amazed at how you interact with the Chevra, and most of all, how you say and give over the shiur. It's mamish like Memches Kinyoni Torah. I wish you can do that sloch in Yeshiva Das. Maybe zoich to finish Shas many more times. The Gezunta Nachas. Amen. One thing I wanted to mention as he spoke in the Mishnah Berurah Yomi, I've heard from many very reminding the shiur, including Rabbi Moshe Meir Weiss. Many people go through Shas, but unfortunately they miss out learning all the wonderful Mishnayos. It's true. Shas doesn't contain all the Mishnayos. He goes on to explain the climb is missing, this is missing, Peah. So anyways, he says the free Kahati applications and other Mishnayos apps, people pass over. If you can mention this point, as people get familiar with many of the Mishnayos, as they sail through Shas. It was referenced last week, Daf, whatever, Klaim and Ohalois. He's right. There's different Mishnayos all over that if you just go through Shas, you miss them. You have to learn Mishnayos as well. Keep up your great work. May you continue, the family continue to shep nachas from you. Also, I think it's a wonderful idea to do something on the Parsha. You have a great talent. Blah, blah, blah. Quick vart, 5 minutes. Yisrael S. P.S. I saw Reb Shmelke this morning at my great nephew's bris. Reb Shmelke Gottman had a grandson. So everybody, a big mazel tov to Shmelka. Baby Eliyahu Sherman from Art Scroll, Rabbi Nosson Sherman, great-grandfather. Simchas by all Klal Yisrael, Yisrael S. There's a Yisrael G and Yisrael S in that shul that are now part of the Daf. Rabbi Sai, an amazing Daf. I'm not going to say anymore. If there are any mistakes, you will be moichel me. Daf Chof Aleph. We're holding Leilu Nishmas Imi Marasi. Calm down on the chat. Leilu Nishmas Imi Marasi. I'm saying it loud. Noam, do not look at the chat. You're looking inside over here, word for word. Translations to the psukim, the whole deal. Gufa. Okay, everything's got the thing today. Somebody asked about this thing. This is a piece of leather that doesn't slip down my inclined Gemara. A credit card doesn't work. Nothing works. The only other thing that works is David's piece of wax that he waxes his surfboard, but it leaves wax marks on my Gemara. Gufa. So yesterday we learned, as we were finishing off the Amud and Daf Chof Aleph, Amud Aleph, that a pasibirois is for animals alone, only for animals. Aval Adam mitapes va'oila mitapes v'yored. And if you missed it, I'll say it again. This is a pshat that's brought down in the new sefer coming out in bookstores soon. Gaivad Elio, metapes va'oila. First, a person makes an aliyah. A person, nobody's born in a yerida. First you make an aliyah, you go up. Because the big question is, Tesis points out somewhere else, first you go into a pit, then you go out of a pit. But the Gemara is hinting to you, we're on a rise. Obviously, in our lifetime, we're going to have declines. But we're in aliyah. We're first in aliyah, then we go down. Fine. Shiva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam. This is normal for people to have an aliyah and go through brachas and Shabbos. And a little bit of a, it's a hara, you go in a yerida. Fine. Aval Adam Metabes V'Oila Metabes V'Yored. A person should not draw water from a well. He should go into the well. Here's a picture from Kol Halashon. You go into the well, literally. You shouldn't draw the water out. You could drink water by going into the well. Hold on a second. But if the well was really wide, like this, where he cannot put his feet on the other side, he can't use his feet to get into the well, how's he going to get in? If it's narrow, he could use the walls behind him and to the side and go down and go up. But if it's a very wide pit, what's he going to do? So I saw in Gaivad Elio where he explains, just to continue of this pshat, that sometimes in life you have something that's just too big for you. Too big. The whole shas, what, you can take on the whole shas now? So you go and you get somebody to help you. You find a shiur on Zoom, you do something to help. That's if it's very wide, that we don't expect you to do it yourself. It's too big of a project. Then you're able to draw the water. So now this is the brisa that we had yesterday twice. And what's very interesting is that the Gemara now, as the original, actually, yeah, this is the original, doesn't even say it as barichos as yesterday. It chops it off halfway. Why? Because we already said it yesterday twice. But here's the original. It's very interesting. The original gets chopped off. A person should not draw water and give it to his animal. But our Mishnah in Eruvin says you could give water to an animal because you do pasibirois. Over here it says you don't. The Gemara explains, what do you do? You draw water and you pour it right in front of the animal. And let the animal drink. You don't take the bucket by itself and give water to your animal. So what good are these pasibirois? If you just pour the water right in front of the animal, pouring water in front of an animal doesn't do anything. Why? Because if you're not holding on to it, you don't need pasibirois. What's the whole point of pasibirois? Pasibirois, you might come to carry. Well, you're pouring in front of the animal, so what's the problem? Says the Gemara, what do you mean, ma'a'ilu? L'malis ma'am, you need to be able to draw the water. Yishkoyach, once you have the water, then you can do whatever you want with it. You pour it in front of the animal. But you need to get the water. How are you going to get the water out of a Rishus HaYachid pit into a Rishus HaRabim? right? So the Gemara's question was, if you're pouring the water, then we don't have any issue like yesterday. What the whole issue was, the animal might move, right? The camel's head is so long, it's going to move. The animal is going to move. And if it's going to move, you are holding the pail, you're going to chase the animal into Rosh Hashanah and you're going to be over. But if you're pouring the water out, we don't have that concern that you're going to chase the animal. It says the Gemara, you're right, you don't have that concern of chasing the animal, but how did you get the water in the first place? You have to draw the water, and that's also to draw without the passive rights. So says the Gemara, to fill it up. So his question is, why do you need Roisha Verubai? The whole point of Roisha Verubai, you make sure the animal's completely inside, and the animal's not going to run away. But over here, once you pour the water, the animal's not going to run away. In other words, there's no problem of you are going to chase the animal. You already poured the water in. Why do you need Rosh Verubai? That's his question. Yeah? Nachamal. The halacha is you have to make sure the cow is Rosh Verubai. No time for pictures. The cow is 2 amas past the passive rights. Why? Because you might chase the cow. If the cow starts moving, you're going to follow the cow. But if it's 2 amas in, we don't have a problem. But you poured the water into the trough. So you're not going to chase the cow. So why does it have to be Rosh Verubai? Says the Gemara, you're right. This is a very special case. Yeah, for this we do need a picture. Hold on. Oh, what a siyata d'shmaya. Top picture. This is the case, Rabbi Isai, that the trough right over here goes from the window. Rashi explains it's the Rishus HaYachid. The cow's face is in, the whole body's in a house. He sticks his head out into the trough. So the trough is Rishus HaYachid. Why? Because it's 10 tfachim high, 4 tfachim wide. So this whole thing is Rishus HaYachid. Extends all the way into the Pasibi Rais. Pasibi Rais, as you see right over here, this creates a Rishus HaYachid. So this whole area over here, Rishus HaYachid. This small area over here is Rishus HaRabim still, but that's no problem because this goes out. Says the Gemara, as we explained twice yesterday, explained it a third time today. We're concerned that the person is going to grab a pail and bring it over the trough. Now, over the trough is 100% mutter. Even if the person's body is in Rishus HaRabim, that's mutter. For you to be Rishus HaRabim and carry Rishus HaYachid is not a problem. What is the problem? He'll notice that the trough is broken. He'll put his pail down. He'll fix it, pick his pail back up. He did it Akira Rishus HaRabim and bring it back into the Rishus HaYachid. That is the problem. Inside, so it says Abaya, a very special case over here. Avada, you're allowed to hold on. We're talking about you holding onto your pail and you're feeding your animal. And if you're feeding your animal, you need that the animal should be inside the passive rois, Rosh Verubai, 2 amas. What's the concern? A special case. The trough is in Rosh Hashanah. It's 10 tall, it's 4 wide. You see the v'chulu? It's really the goymer. Bekitzer, it just chopped the whole thing in half and lets you recall what you learned yesterday twice. But this is the original. That what? We're concerned, you're going to put the pail down. The Gemara says put the pail down. That's not a problem. You have to have meleches machsheves. So just because you lifted a pail up in Rosh Hashanah and put it down in Rosh Hashanah, you're not over in this case because you had no intent to put it down. You didn't know that the trough is broken. Says Gemara, you're right. After you realize that the trough is broken, you put it down. Now you lifted it up on condition to bring it into Rosh Hashanah. That's meleches machsheves. Fine. That's that sugya. Omer Rav Yirmiyah Bayarba Omer Rav says, here we go with the Agadita. Says Rav, Ein Burgonim Bibavel. So now, we're talking about Erev Tchumim. Erev Tchumim is, a person has a house, halachically could only walk 2,000 amas in each direction. This way, 2,000 amas. If he puts a meal somewhere, he can walk another 2,000 amas. So that becomes his shvisa, and from there he walks another. Burgonim is the idea, and I don't have a picture of it for today. Burgonim are a bunch of huts. We discussed it a few days ago. Huts. If you put a hut, where does the city end? The city limit, you can walk to the city limit. City limit is where the final house is. But if instead of a house you have a hut, some sort of temporary hut. So then you have 70 amas and 2/3 of an amma. It's basically based on the Beis Hamikdash. The chutzner is 50 by 100. So if you make it into a square, so you have 70. It's not 70 and 2/3 plus 70 and 2/3, and that's your fine. So right, because the Beis Hamikdash, the chutzner is 50 by 100, which is 5,000 amas. But if you want to square it out, it comes out to each piece is 70 and 2/3. That's why we have 70 and 2/3. So 70 and 2/3, your city limit to that hut. Says Rav, Ein burganim bevavel. That doesn't work in Bavel. The whole idea of pasi b'rois, of L-shaped brackets, to draw water on Shabbos doesn't exist in Chutz La'aretz. Burganim bevavel, why not in Bavel? The shchichei bitke. There are a bunch of floods, like in America now. Big hurricane comes through.
Out of Bavel, yeah?
What?
Chutz La'aretz means out of Bavel.
Right. Chutz La'aretz is not talking about Bavel. Bavel is Burganim bevavel, only in Bavel. There's no such thing as Bavel. The shchiche bitke in Bavel, they're like these floods that come and take away your burganim, your huts. Pasi b'rois b'chutz la'aretz. And how come L-shaped brackets don't work in chutz la'aretz? The shchiche misifta. So now, we said that pasi b'rois is for oile regalim, but it's not just oile regal. It's anything people going for mitzvah. Mitzvah. So now, if you have a bunch of yeshivas in Bavel, you have a lot of yeshivas, so people are constantly walking, going from here to there. So we allow them to do pasi b'rois. However, if there's no yeshivas, people aren't there, they're not going for mitzvah, no pasi b'rois. In other words, you could do burganim in America, you just can't do burganim in Bavel, because Bavel has floods. You could do pasi b'rois in Bavel, because there's many yeshivas, Pumpedusa, Narda, all the Amoraim that lived in Bavel. But not in America. America don't have these yeshivas, so you don't do pasi b'rois. Some say differently. Rav said, no, there's no burganim, no huts, and no L-shaped brackets anywhere outside of Eretz Yisrael. Burganim bevavel, why not? The shchiche bitke, this floods in Bavel, b'chutz la'aretz nami loy, the shchiche ganavi. There are people that steal huts. Look, there's a couple that was on a honeymoon somewhere, and they were in a tent. And the husband turns to his wife at night and he says, "What do you see? What stars do you see? What do you see in the stars?" So she starts philosophizing. "I see the stars. It reminds me of Avraham Avinu and all the things." And she's done. She says, "No, what do you see?" "I see that somebody stole our tent. We could see the stars." So there are people out there that steal tents and steal huts. The shchicha ganavi. So I can't rely on it. You're going to say that the city limits go all the way to there? No. Maybe somebody's going to pick the hut up and walk away with it. Pasi b'rois bevaveloi. The shchicha maya. So in pasi b'rois bevaveloi, the shchicha maya. B'chutz la'aretz nami loy, the shchicha misifta. Now, this is just like in our days. Any place that you have water, we have faucets. That's why this whole halach is not brought down in Shulchan Aruch. If there's available water, we're not concerned. We don't need to start making special kulas that people could use water from a well on Shabbos that's in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, because we have plenty of water. In Chutz La'aretz, that's in Bavel. In Chutz La'aretz, but outside of Bavel, there's no yeshiva, so people are not going for mitzvah. They're not going for mitzvah. There's no point to be mater pasi b'rois. Amri, they tell me, I see some Barnish lebeknish to Daniel. I hear that you go from Barnish, this name of the city, all the way to the shul of Daniel. Now Daniel was nifter many years before, but they heard, it's like today, going to a certain caver for Zgula. This is where Daniel davened. Famous Daniel with his davening, his famous davening. So people used to walk there to go to the shul. But he says, the Havet lost a parsi. It was 3 parsi away. Now, this is a lot more than a 2,000 amos. One pras is 4 times the amount, I think, of 2,000 amos. So you're talking about 12 times 2,000 amos. 12 times the tchum. It's 3 pras. Says Gemara, Amaisa michtu aburganim. So you're probably relying, he tells him, on the little huts all along the way, so you don't care about the tchum. Hamra avua, da avuch, mishmei Rav, your grandfather said in the name of Rav, and burganim bebavel. We just learned, huts don't work in Bavel. So nofak v'achvilei haru masvasa, the mebalim b'shivim ama v'shirayim. So he goes outside. Who is this again? Rav Chizda Tamari Berei Ravuna Berei Rav Yirmiyah. So that's why it says the name, because it's the son of the son, and now we know whose grandfather was who said that there's no Burganim in Bavel. Great. But anyway, so Mari told Rav Chizda, listen, look at all these ruins. Ruins, as we're going to see later on in the Masechta, ruins work as a hut, just as good as a hut. You're right, they're not real houses. These houses are destroyed. Nevertheless, there's an extension to the city limit all the way out there to wherever he went, all the way to the shul of Daniel. I just want to say Shalom Aleichem to Jay Spitzer from Toronto, I think it is, somewhere in Canada. Toronto, Montreal, one of those, right? Warren Carlos. Hold on, let me just real quickly, I know we have to move here. Rabbi Avram Schwartz from Manchester lives on. I don't see his Gevaldik address upon him, but he's there. Who else? Rocky Stewart. Rabbi Bodenheim from Gimel. Rabbi Bodenheim, who would believe? He started this year after he moved away from my building. If he was in my building, we would have had first, second, third floor, all floors in the building. Shalom Aleichem. That's it. The Farkish is on from Australia. Gevaldik. Now, we go back. Omer of Chizda. Dorash Mori Barmar. So now we're talking about Mori. So we gotta go on a tangent with Mori in Agad. Ma'idachsiv. L'chol tichla roisi kates. L'chol tichla. For every goal, roisi kates, I see there's an end to the goal. Rechava mitzvahs chavayd. Your mitzvah is very wide. David Amori, David v'loy Perishai. David HaMelech said it, he didn't explain. Amori iyoy v'loy Perishai, Amori chezk v'loy Perishai. All these people said this and didn't explain. Achaboz Zacharia ben Idoy u'Perishai. Amori David v'loy Perishai. Where did David say this and didn't explain the chsiv? L'chol tichla roisi kates. That's the passage we first brought. Rechava mitzvahs chavayd. Fine. Amori iyoy v'loy Perishai. The chsiv. Aruka meretz midah. Yeah, there's a song here. If we were in the Beis Medrash, we would sing the song. Aruka meretz midah urechava minayam. Whatever, the high part is much nicer. Aruka meretz midah. We're talking about the Torah here. Torah Shebal Peh is much wider than the oceans. Urechava minayam, a lot wider than the earth. Amar Yecheski v'lei Pirsha d'chsiv v'yifrois oisa lefonai v'hi ksuva ponim achar. The Torah Shebal Peh is written front and back. V'chas v'eleh kinim v'hege v'hi kinim. What does kinim mean? Zupuroasim shel tzadikim b'olam hazeh. How the tzadikim suffer in this world. V'chein oimer kinohi v'koninua. It's a kino like we say on Tisha B'av kino. V'hege zumatan schorim shel tzadikim lasid lavoi. V'hege is referring to the sechar that tzadikim get in the world to come. What's this Rosh Hashanah over here? V'chein. What is this? V'chein oimer. V'chein oimer. V'chein oimer. V'chein oimer ali hi goyim b'chinor. V'chein oimer ali goyim b'chinor. This is like the song of the harp. Ali hi goyim b'chinor. V'hi zuhi poru nasim shal rishayim lasid lavoi. This is what the Rishayim are going to suffer. V'chein oimer. Hoiva al hoiva tavai. At Shabbat Zachar ben Ido Perishai. So what are we trying to figure out here? We're trying to figure out how wide is the Torah Shebal Peh? How big is it? Can we measure it? What do you see? Va'omer ani roya Megillah afa. I see a Megillah that's folded. Arka eser ba'ama urachava eser ba'ama. It's 20 amas by 10 amas. V'chipashatla. Now if you open it up, havila esrim be'esrim. It's 20 by 20. Now, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, okay? What's an amma? Amma is 2 feet. 2 feet. So you're holding by 20 by 20. So it's a 40 by 40 foot Megillah. No. Okay, so you wrote all the Torah Shebal Peh on a 40. Look, Shas is 2,711 dafim. It would take probably a 40 by 40 scroll. But that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the Amma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu measures the world. Oh, that's very different. Now, you take the 20 by 20, but you have to double that. You have to open it up because it's on the back side as well. So if you open it up, it's like this, and you go like this, so now you have 20 by 40. 40 by 20. If you're going to peel it apart, but you have to peel it apart because it's written on both sides. Who measured b'sha'olei mayim bazeres tikein. Zeres, says Rashi, is a half a amma. A half a amma by a half a amma. How many half a ammas fit into one amma? 4. Right? How many square half ammas fit into a square amma? 4. Now, we're holding at 20 by ammas. 20 times 40 is 800. 800 times 4, because each amma has 4 zereses, we're talking about a zeres, is 3,200, says Rashi. Oh, so we're talking about 3,200 ammas. And the whole entire world is one zeres. The entire world is a half a am in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's. Now am is from an elbow to fingers. It's not literally what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't measure HaKadosh Baruch Hu based on this. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu measures the world measurement. The entire world measures a half a amma. And we're talking about 3,200. So it's 3,200 zereses. So the Torah is 3,200 times the size of the world. Oh, so now we know how big the Torah Shabbat Peh is, based on what Zechariah says. Another drush from Mari Bar Mar. There are 2 pots of figs. One of the pots is really, really good figs. We're turning. Oh, we got this. If you didn't see this last night because you don't do Matzah Shabbos. So Uncle Phil stopped by as a guest, and he brought me some matanos. One of them is this 8-minute daf cube, and you spin it, and then you know if we're doing the turn the page or turn the daf. It's on a permanent turn the daf, and today's turning the daf is sponsored by Asher Lili Nishmas, his mother Rosa Bas Ben Yamin. Make it a great day, and by Dr. Listhouse Lili Nishmas Mordechai Yosef Ben Aaron. Here we go. We're turning to Daf Chof Aleph Amud Beis. Rabbi Say, you chap what's going on here. It's 20 Daf into Eruvin. This is 20 Daf for real. 21 equals 20 in Daf of Gemara. We're 20 Daf into Eruvin. Only another 80 left. So, what does it say here? There's really good figs in one of the pots. Terrible, the worst of the worst. You can't touch them, you can't eat them, they're so bad. Referring to the great tzaddikim Tehilim Marais, Elo Rishayim Gemurim. Maybe they'll say, okay, these Rishayim have no hope. Nothing. They're so bad, there's nothing going on. You can't do anything with them. They're done. Don't have Yush. The Dudaim, plural. Both pots, not just the pot of the tzaddikim, but even the pot of the Rishayim are going to give off a nice fragrance. Elu ve'elu asidim shitnu reach. Dorash Rava ma'idchsiv. So again, back to the achdus. Even Rishayim, as we had the other day, even Reikonim shebacha Malay mitzvahs karimayin. At the end of the day, they'll get a little gehenna maybe to peel off all the klippas and all the bad stuff that they did in this world. But at the end of the day, yitnu reach. Dorash Rava ma'idchsiv hadudarim nasu reach. Pasuk in Shiur Hashirim, Elu Bachur Yisrael Shelo Yital Matam Chet. The young Bachurim from Klal Yisrael never had any relations. They don't have the taste of a chet. Val Pesochenu Kol Megadim. On the openings, Kol Megadim Elu Bnei Yisrael Shemagidas Peschem LeBaleim. These are the women who tell their husbands about Tuma. Lashon Acher Sha'igdas Peschem LeBaleim. They save themselves for their husbands. In other words, they don't cheat. Chadoshim Gam Yishorim Doidi Tzafanti Loch. Omra Knesset Yisrael Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rebbeinu Shalom. Harbek Zeres Gezarti Alatzmi. So Knesset Yisrael, who made all these additions of Gzeros and Gdarim and all that. So they said to Rebbeinu Shalom, we made more Gzeros. We just said, look, the Torah you can lift up like this. You have the whole Torah and you read through the whole thing from year to year, just 1 day a week. But Torah Shabbat Peh is the size 3,200 times the size of the world. So how big Gzeros Gezarti Alatzmi Yosem Mashi Gezarti Alai V'Kiyamtim. I made on myself my own Gzeros and I kept them all. There was this Talmid Chacham that used to organize the Agadita like we're learning now, the Agadita. He used to organize the Agadita in front of Rav Chizda. So Rav Chizda asked him, he said, he's a professional Agadita guy. Do you have Pshat? Do you have a good Pshat? What's Chadoshim Gam Yishanim? Obviously, there's some religions that say that there's the new one and there's the old one. Obviously, we don't hold to that. So what's the Pshat in the Pasuk? Chadoshim. There's a New Testament. There's an Old. What does that mean? Chadoshim Gam Yishanim Mao. Amalei Elu Mitzvahs Kalois Velu Mitzvahs Chamurais. No, Chadoshim is referring to the lighter mitzvahs, Yishanim, the more Chamor, I think, unless Rashi says differently. No, Chadoshim Divri Seifrim. No, that's later on. I'm going to say that Chadoshim means the easy ones. But says Rav Chizda, what do you mean? It was given at a different time. The Kalos came, why is it called Chadoshim? Chadoshim means it came at a different period. It came a little bit later, earlier to us, closer to us. Says Gemara, yeah, there were two Torahs basically. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah Shebiksav, and then Chachamim added Gzeres that came at a later stage. That's why it says Chadoshim. Those are the new halachas. Gam Yishanim. Dorish Rava Maidich Sid Yosem Behema. This is a pasuk Kehelas. Yosem Behema B'ni Hizar. We're going to go through Shlem HaMelech. That's your Shirim, not Kehelas. But Yosem Behema B'ni Hizar Asois Svarim Harv. You should make a lot of Svarim. B'ni Hizar B'divrei Seifrim Yosem B'divrei Torah. You should be careful with Seifrim more than Divrei Torah. Divrei Torah yesh b'masei v'lois asei, because in Torah Shabbat Peh there's an asei v'lois asei v'divrei Seifrim kol ha'over al divrei Seifrim chayev misa. If you're over on Divrei Chachamim chayev misa, the famous Rabbeinu Yoina, who says that when you, and I said this a few times, you'll hear people tell you, it's just the Rabbanon. That is a lack in Yerushalayim. A lacking Yerushalayim deserves Misa. If a person is Michal Shabbos, he's not lacking Yerushalayim. He has a taiva. He wants to use his cell phone, he wants to drive, whatever the taiva is. But he's not saying, to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's just, okay, I can't be Mizgara. But a person that says, it's just Rabbanon, these rabbis who made up halachas, that's a lack in Yerushalayim, that's a Chiyuv Misa. If they're so important, these halachas, the rabbis made, the Chachamim, so why are they not in the Torah? Because there's so much of it that it's impossible for it to be in the Torah Shebiksav. You later on, you'll make them inkates. V'lag harbe yigias basar. So yigias basar, you're working hard the flesh. V'lag harbe, lag, like to take out words. In other words, you're learning Torah comes from a yigia. It's a yigia in the basar. It's hard work. From this pasuk you can learn Shekala Malig al Divrei Chacham. Malig is a lashon of to make fun of. Shekala Malig al Divrei Chacham with the ayin nidaim betzoyer reitachas. What happens when you make fun of a chacham, of the chachamim, the Anshe Knesset Agdoila? So the einish is tzoyer reitachas, boiling manure, waste. You put in the word over there. It's a terrible thing. That's the famous joke. The guy went up to Shemaim. He said, let me see around. Can I get the tour? They said, you get Gehenim. Let's show you around. So they take him to the Gehenim and they show him first room. Everybody's upside down and they're screaming and it's in their faces in a bunch of herring. They're rolling. No, I don't want that one. So he goes to the next one. And everybody's upside down, and they're in chveisvas. No, I don't want that one. Finally, he takes him to the room. It's in the sewer, but they're all standing up. Their heads are out, and they're eating kakash cake, and they're eating all sorts of things, and drinking coffee and everything. He says, that's what I want. I know it smells really bad, worse than the other, but that's what I want. Fine. So he goes in there, And then they say 2 minutes later, Rabbi Isai, coffee breaks over, back on your heads. Oh, so this is the room. That's the room. This room, Soyre Tachas, boiling manure. For what? Why that room? Why did everybody in the herring? Because these are the guys that make fun of Talmid Chacham. Time out. Soyre Tachas. Maskim l'Rava. Miksiv lag. Does it say with a ayin? Lag. It's talking about people that are learning Torah. If a person learns Torah and he works hard on it, then he's going to get the taste of meat. Tanra Abanan. Incredible story, Rabbi Isai, incredible story. There's a lot to learn from this. This is the end of Rabbi Akiva's life. So Rabbi Akiva is right around 120 years old. Let's say he's 119 3/4. He taught Torah, Barabim, and they caught him, the Romans caught him, they put him in jail. Rabbi Shua Agarsi was the one. I don't know how it worked. No, they want to save money, I guess. They didn't give you food. You're in jail. They weren't worried about people smuggling things in and all the contraband. Rabbi Shua Agarsi could come and give him whatever he needs. He's in jail. So if he needs a cup of water for the whole day, that's all he got. 1 cup. So the guard bumps into the Rabbi Shua Garsi and he's carrying the stuff into Rabbi Akiva. Let me see what you got over there. I see that you put a little bit more water into your kli. What, you're trying to dig out from underneath? You need extra water. This mamish reminds me of stories from the Holocaust. So this Nazi guy takes the cup of water, pours out half of it. Rabbi Akiva tells Yeshua, I'm 119 years old. I really rely on you. Why do you bring me so? Why is the water not the amount that I need? So he told him what happened. Incredible story. Give me the rest of the water. I'm not drinking today. I'm 119 years old. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to wash my hands with water. But there's not enough to drink. You're going to wash your hands. What should I do? I'm stuck. If you don't wash your hands, you're chayiv misa. Why? Because it's Xer D'Rabbanan. And Xer D'Rabbanan you don't do, you get misa. I rather die my own death and not be over on divrei chachamim. It's a musar haskil shein kamayu. You don't even have to say any pshatim. You just read the words. Rabbi Akiva, 119 years old, rather wash his hands for Netilas Yadayim because that's a takanas chachamim. Amru, they said, loy tam klum at shehevi loy mayim v'not yadav. He refused to eat until I don't know when, until the next day, until they brought him water, and he was able to wash his hands and he ate. They heard the story. Amru, look at this old person. That's how he acted. Certainly, when a person is younger, it's not simple to be in a jail. Conditions are terrible. You're obviously very thirsty. Certainly, a person who has all the what's the word? Everything he needs in this world, he has in front of him. Certainly, should be makbed. Small taisus here because it's important to us. It says mutav amos misas atzmis. The middle taisus afagav de perakama, because we just learned this. Rabbi Isai, you probably had this question. Amrinon arba dvarim tum b'machana. Soldiers are potter from 4 different things. One of them is rechitas mayim. They don't have to wash their hands when they go to war. They're in a sakana. A guy that's in jail doesn't have to wash his hands. What's going on here? Why is Rabbi Akiva giving up his life? So we need to understand. But Tosfos says there's something to think about over here. Halachically, he didn't have to wash his hands. He was machmer. How could a person be machmer to kill himself? It's a zog. It's like Rabbi say you have to. We can't take these things lightly. It's only the Rabbanan. No. You have to give your nefesh up for it. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. When Shlomo Melech instituted Eruvin, because look, to go from somebody's house to the next house, next door neighbor's house, what's the problem? We live next to each other. We're not going to Rosh Hashanah. Shlomo Melech said, you're not allowed, you have to make Eruvin Chatzeres. Unatilas Yadayim, he instituted Natilas Yadayim for Kachim. It's a Baskal V'Amra. So, they were very happy with him in Shemayim. B'ni, im chacham libecha yismach libi gamoni. I'm very happy with the chachma that he instituted Eruv, that he instituted in the Natilas Yadayim. V'omer, chacham b'ni v'smach libi v'shiva charfi davar. Fine. Darish Rava, Maidach Siv, L'chod Doidi Neitza Asadas, Shir, Nolina Bakfarim, Nashkim Ala Kramim. So there's different categories here. Nolina, we'll go out to the field. We'll sleep in the kfar. Nashkim Ala Kramim, we'll get up early for the vineyard. Nira and Parach HaGefen will go see if the vine blossomed. Pitach HaSmodar, it's another step, I guess, flower, blossom. Hey Neitza Remaynim, the pomegranates also, they blossom. Shom Etem is Doidai Lach. L'chadoidi neitza says the Gemara Amar Knesset Yisrael Fnakadosh Baruch Hu Rabbanu Shalom Al Tadineni Ki Yoshvi Krachim Sheshbem Gozav Arayis Shua Shov Ushua Sheker. Don't judge me like the city folk. In the Sima Shas, Rabbi, I think it was Rav Shlomo Kaplan. He said a Gevaldik Mashal. He said that a guy was in the city and somebody from out of the city, out of towner, like one of these farmers, he wanted to see how people in the city do business. So he watched how two people one guy was selling a horse and the guy was buying a horse. And the guy selling the horse, he says, I want $500 for it. So the guy says, no, I'll give you 100, back and forth. And he bought it for 100. He was able to buy it for 100. So the farmer runs to the seller and he says, what's going on here? The horse is worth 500. Why do you sell to him for 100? He says, the horse has a limp. It's not worth even 100. So he runs back to the buyer and he says, why did you buy it for 100? It has a limp. He says, it has a limp. It has a nail in its hoof. And I know I'll just take it out. It won't limp anymore. He runs back to the other guy. He says, it has a nail. Shoit, it has a nail. He says, idiot, I put the nail in there. So he runs back to the other guy. He says, the nail. The guy put the nail in there. He says, Chacham, the money I gave him was counterfeit. So he runs back to the first guy and he says, counterfeit money. He says, Shaita, it wasn't even my horse. I sold somebody else's horse. And then he finishes off and he says, and I don't even know what the nimshal is. I don't either remember what the nimshal was. I remember it was a great mashal. But here it is. Business in the city. This is how business guys, this is how they do it, unfortunately, in the city. And they tell the Rebbeinu Shalom, don't be dan me based on these clowns in the city who do business like that. They curse the F word, the guys in the city. Look at them. They do all these terrible things. Gezel, that. Let me show you what they have in the farm. You have to be dan us Klal Yisrael like those guys. I don't want to say it here because I'm going to get thrown. Like the Koil guys, they live bedachkus. They learn Torah. They help us out. Us city folks, we're helped by them. We shouldn't put them down. We should support them. These are the people that don't believe. Look what you gave to them. You gave them beautiful countries, Switzerland, and all these things. And they don't even believe in you. What's going on in America? They want to remove any hint of the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're getting up in the morning. We get up, and nowadays it's Zoom. We get up early to learn Torah. Look at us, Rebbeinu Shalom. We go out to see is there flour there? So this is a message to Noam and to Leon and to Rabbi Pressman and all those guys that are pushing for Chumash here. These are the people that learn Torah, they learn Chumash, they want a Chumash. The next step after Chumash is Mishnayis. It expands on the Mikra. You get the pomegranates, Elu Bali Gemara. That's Rabbi said. That's the main thing. The Gemara, which includes everything. We explained it many times. The Gemara includes, like Tosis says, it includes Chumash, it includes Mishnayis, it includes Halacha, everything. Agadata, Soid, everything. Shom Etein is Doidai Loch. It's not a steer. One day, Be'ez Hashem, we'll have time. Arecha kevoidi v'godli shevach bonai ubnoisai. So I'll show you my honor, the godless. my sons and my daughters, the Shevach. Omer Avnuna Maidich Sivai Daber Shloishes Alav Mashal. Vayihi Shiur Chamishav Aleph. 3,000, 5,000. What's going on here? Every piece of Torah Shlomo Melech, the smartest man alive that ever lived. On every piece of Torah, Shloishes Alav Mashal. On the Torah, he said 3,000 mishalim, stories to explain the Torah, to explain the halachas. Oh, this would be a great place to say the story about the Vilna Gaon, but I don't remember it. Rabbi Shomerg will tell me, what was it? That he had 82 different pshatim in Oz Yashir. Where was it? And he forgot it because he thought about it during Shemona Esrei, whole Maisa. Anyways, people that had 3,000 mishalim on one thing, we just had in the Gemara that somebody had 48, more, 150 pshatim in every tumah v'tara. Darish Rav Maidach Siv Yoyis Shoyik Elis Chacham. Oid Limit Das is Ha'am V'Izen V'Chiker V'Tikim Mishalim Harbe. Shlomo Melech not only was so smart, but he made a lot of mishalim. Limit Das is Ha'am Dagmar Rabbi Simoni Tamim. Rabbi Schoenberg sent me a page of a Gemara that had the Taimim, the trop. Dagmar Rabbi Simoni Tamim V'Azber B'Mai Domile. In the beginning, Torah was like a basket, that didn't have handles. Did I skip something? Oh, here, I did skip something. Everything that the Chachamim said, he gave 5,000 tamim, and then we read the rest of it. That what until Shlomo Melech came, it was like a pot, like a basket that didn't have handles, hard to lift up. With the takanas of Chachamim, it made Torah a lot easier. Have a wonderful Geshmaka day. You could all unmute yourselves. The boys say, all right, not too bad. No, I was a little worried there. Wow. If it was a regular daf, not, I'd be shaking.
Every time was on tonight, he said there's a long road ahead.
Who? Oh, really? Oh, beautiful news. Did he tell you what happened? Where? What? What was the story?
He doesn't know. He said it's a long road.
Well, if he doesn't know, it could be a short road. Like, how does he know? You mean his body's in a bad place right now? Wow.
Lauren still can't unmute.
Who can unmute?
Lauren.
YouTube is still on.
Whoever can unmute, then the best answer might be to leave and come right back. Agadavach Shloimi Klein. What's that? Yeah.
First of all, the herring and the codfish cake in Gehenim, I feel like it's racist. Sorry. It's anti-Hasidic. I see Eli Stefansky agrees with me.
No, but if your face is in it, face down.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear anything about something that you enjoyed. I heard only what we enjoy, so I'm not so sure.
I love caucus. What are you talking about? I love caucus, and hello. When I do, you could ask anybody, listen.
I got your back.
Listen, when I do a kiddush, in my house on Sukkot for the neighborhood. I go all the way to Bnei Brak, or at least I used to, go all the way to Bnei Brak to buy the herring there. Zahav herring, number 1 herring in Israel. That's what I ask everybody. I don't mess around when it comes to herring.
So we know when to come?
Yeah, I don't know if that we're doing it this year. And last year I sent a shliach already. I started getting lazy. What?
Wow.
These are stuff. Hello, this is stuff I love. Ask Rabbi Kraus.
Good Shabbos. Ellie, on Thursday and Friday, there's a place Good Shabbos, the hole in the wall by the mikvah on
Yeah.
what's it called?
Yeah.
They have all the Chassidish herring and
So the place under Yesh, also, there's a hole in the wall under Yesh, and they sell Zahava herring now. So this year, I ordered it from him. Last year, I ordered it, and he forgot to get it. It was a mess. We had to run to Bnei Brak last second, but this year he remembered, and it was good. Oh, that's what happened. He forgot to order it. I just took his entire refrigerators. I didn't leave him any herring for anybody. I came early in the morning, Baruch Hashem, and I got everything.